The Santa Rosa Hitchhiker Murders. From 1972 to 1973, there were a string of murders in Santa Rosa, California, that to this day still have authorities baffled. Believed to be the work of a single serial killer tormenting the North Bay area, there were at least 7 young victims ranging in age from 12 to 24, and several more suspected victims. All of them were found nude in rural areas, down creek beds, or on steep embankments. The first 2 confirmed murders were that of Maureen Sterling, who was 12, and her best friend Yvonne Weber, who was 13. They both disappeared on February 4th, 1972, around 9 p.m. The girls were out ice skating and afterwards were seen hitchhiking in the northwest part of Santa Rosa. Not an uncommon practice for young people in that era, and sadly for Maureen and Yvonne, they never made it back home that night. Their bodies were found in December of the same year, down a steep embankment only about 70 feet off the east side of the road. A single earring, orange beads, and a 14-karat gold necklace with a cross on it were found at the scene. The actual cause of death wasn't able to be determined from the skeletal remains, and the 2 were only able to be identified by Maureen's mother because she knew the jewelry had belonged to her daughter. Kim Wendy Allen, a 19-year-old art student at Santa Rosa Junior College, was last seen on March 4th, 1972, while hitchhiking near Bell Avenue and the northbound entrance to Highway 101. Her body was found the following day down an embankment in a creek bed that was only 20 feet off of Enterprise Road in Santa Rosa. She had been bound by the ankles and wrist, sexually assaulted, and slowly strangled to death with a cord for an estimated 30 minutes. Also, she was found with an oily substance on her right side that was believed to be similar to the oil found inside of a machine shop. DNA was also recovered from the body, though it has never been matched to someone. Also, a single gold hoop earring was found near her body. Markings on the embankment and a possible leg impression indicated that the killer likely slipped and fell when moving Kim's body. Several weeks after her murder, items Kim was last seen with were found deposited in a drive-up mailbox. Although police found fingerprints, they still haven't been able to match them to the killer. Lee Cursa was a 13-year-old middle school student that was reported missing by her mother on November 11th, 1972, while the 2 were out shopping. Although she was a frequent hitchhiker and a habitual runaway, she was last seen alive by friends around 10 days after she was reported missing. Tragically, her frozen remains were found a month later, thrown only 30 feet off of a road down an embankment in northeast Santa Rosa. She was found with jewelry missing, and it is believed to have been taken by the killer. The cause of death was a broken neck and a compression of the spinal cord. She had not been sexually assaulted and likely had died only a couple weeks prior to the discovery of her body. A possible witness to her abduction came forward saying he saw a girl being pushed into a white van near where Lori was last seen. Authorities speculated that she was forced into the van, stripped of her clothing, but she may have tried to escape. Her injuries leaned towards her jumping out or being pushed out of the vehicle while it was driving. This is how it's believed that her neck was broken, and most horrifyingly of all, with a broken neck she would have not been able to move, and it would have taken some time for her to succumb to her injuries. Carolyn Davis was 15 years old when she disappeared on July 15, 1973, near the southbound Highway 101 ramp. Tragically, her body was discovered a few weeks later, a mere 3 feet from where the bodies of Maureen and Yvonne were found months earlier. Carolyn's cause of death was found out to be strychnine poisoning, but it was unclear if she had been sexually assaulted. It was found that Carolyn's right earlobe had also been pierced, but even more shocking than that was a symbol made out of twigs and sticks that was found near her body that in witchcraft meant carrier of spirits. 23-year-old Teresa Diane Smith was last seen a few days before Christmas in 1973. She had intended to hitchhike to Garberville to join her family for the holidays. Her partially submerged body was found a week later by kayakers. They discovered a truly gruesome scene. The young woman had been hogtied, sexually assaulted, and strangled to death. On July 2nd, 1979, the skeletal remains of a young female were discovered. Only 100 yards from where Lee Cursa's body had been found 7 years earlier. The victim had also been hogtied and her arm fractured. She had been stuffed into some kind of canvas bag and then just dumped into this ravine. She was believed to be around 16 years old and was murdered around the same time as the other women. However, her true identity has never been found. The Santa Rosa Hitchhiker murderer is also suspected to have killed several more women, but hasn't been definitively linked to these victims. One such case is that of Lisa Michelle Smith, who was 17 years old and last seen hitchhiking in Santa Rosa in March of 1971. Shockingly, it was believed that at one time, Lisa had managed to escape the killer's capture by jumping from the van while it was driving at over 55 miles per hour. She was reportedly then treated for her injuries at a nearby hospital, but before authorities could speak to her, she attempted to hitchhike back to San Francisco. But the strangest part of this story is that in 2011 it was discovered that Lisa had actually never been treated by any hospital. In fact, there were no hospital records or even police records of the incident at all. She had just vanished and has never been seen or heard from since. Another suspected victim was Jeanette Comahell. On April 25th, 1972, one of her friends saw the college student being abducted by what looked like a 20 to 30-year-old white male that fit the description of the serial killer police were looking for. Sadly, her body has never been found. 15-year-old Carrie Graham and 14-year-old Francine Trimble disappeared in December of 1978. Tragically, both girls' skeletal remains were found dumped off of a rural highway 6 months later. At the time, the bodies were not able to be identified, and it took nearly 4 decades before DNA analysis in 2015 was able to positively ID the girls. The FBI has another 8 suspected victims in their unsolved murder and missing persons cases from that time period. And it is horrifying to think that the person responsible for these Santa Rosa hitchhike murders has been walking around free for over 50 years.